Meera, do you have any previous connection with Buddhism or practice?
No.
Oh, okay. And right. So you just happened to chance on our website, or how did you find out?
I heard about it through a friend.
Okay.
And I just lost my husband, and I need to kind of, you know what I mean?
Right. Which country are you sitting in?
I'm in Delhi.
Okay.
Nothing exotic.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's not easy to lose someone like that, but let's see. The practice may help you to, may help in some way.
Yes, I hope so.
But there's no magic formula in these things, obviously. But
No.
hopefully, sitting with the rest of us, even online, may be helpful. I hope it's helpful. Yeah.
Yes, I hope. Thank you.
So we sit upright, comfortably, making sure our back is well supported. And we don't have to sit on the ground cross-legged. If it's easier on a chair, then please do that. And there's a sense that we're beginning to slow down and not engage in what we usually engage in, which is an outward expansion, if you like. Our senses are connected all the time with what seems to be happening on the outside. So our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, the taste faculty, and the tactile, the touch faculty, they always seem to be looking outwards, searching for pleasant sensations. So here, we're giving that aspect of our experience a rest, and we are investigating whether there might be a faculty of mind or a dimension of our experience which doesn't need that external stimulation all the time, which can rely on something more inward, inner. And according to the experience of countless practitioners, and according to what the Lord Buddha said that if we actually allow the mind to settle, then there's a chance that we can get closer and closer to a deeper, perhaps more authentic level of who we are, not the very troubled, outer, busy, anxious, worrying, excitement craving part of ourselves, which is, of course, very strong and very, it is very important in modern culture. And it's constantly being spoken to and aggravated by how we live and by advertising and so on and so forth. So here we are actually slowing down and paying attention to something more inward, to the actual state of our body and mind. And through being still, relatively still, bodily, and developing a sense of ease, relaxation, together with awareness, together with being very attentive, through these 3 steps of stillness, relaxation, and attention, we can begin to access another dimension of ourselves, which can prove very, very nourishing, very wholesome, very restful after the hectic, if you like, hectic display that the five senses keep on providing for us. So just take a few deep breaths and we allow ourselves to relax as we breathe out, as though we were breathing out all of the debris of the day. The thoughts, the unwanted thoughts, the extra kind of useless chatter of the mind. Just let it go with the out breath. Imagine it's flowing out and dissolving into space. So we'll be connecting with the breath in our body, the breath that keeps us, which sustains us. And we're going to be attentive to it at a very earthy level, the actual sensation of the breath, not some idea of it or image of it, but the actual breath, the feeling of it, the sensation of it in the body as we breathe in and as we breathe out. So we'll notice, of course, that there are thoughts, maybe even a kind of avalanche of thoughts, but that's okay. We allow them to arise in the space, in the relaxed space of the mind. We notice, but we don't get involved with them. We just let them go. Don't pay any undue attention to thoughts, memories, or plans, future plans. Just let them go and come back to the awareness of the breath. And if we can, the breath entering and leaving our body through the nostrils. And we can use the in-breath to generate awareness of the process, to sharpen our attention, and the out-breath to just let go and relax. So there's a sense of attentiveness on the in-breath, but allowing ourselves to relax and dissolve with the out-breath. It's not that we completely lose awareness, of course, with the out-breath, but there's a sense that we can just relax more, be a sense of let there be a sense of ease, almost you could say a sense of relief. We don't try to block the thoughts or any sensations or emotions that may be arising. As I said, we allow them to arise in the space of the mind. In fact, we cannot stop them. They arise, we acknowledge, and we let go. Back to the breath. If it's a very powerful emotion or sensation, then we can just be with it. We don't try to suppress it, just be with it without judging or wishing it were not there. But also allow oneself to then relax, to be with the out-breath. So that there isn't a sense of clinging to or getting stuck in the sort of heavy quality of an emotion. We just see it as very light, spacious, relax with the out-breath. The posture will help, the upright posture. The energies of the body can flow better as we sit upright but relaxed. And we allow the front of the body to be naturally open so that we're not trying to hide, and we don't constrict our lungs or our breath. The chest is open so that the lungs can function properly. And also, one might say, the heart is exposed. Our heart, so we're willing to connect with others, with the world. This is also very important. We're not trying to hide from humanity. However problematic and irritating humanity can sometimes be, there's that sense of openness. And our whole practice you could say it's based on, we're willing to trust in ourselves and our being, who we are, and we're willing to extend that trust outwards towards others. Sort of basic way, uncomplicated way. So together with the stillness and the open, relaxed quality, there's the discipline, if you like, of being attentive, not just allowing the mind to go wild. Gently allowing whatever to arise, but then noticing it, if it's a thought or memory or plan or worry, whatever. And letting it go and coming back to the breath. Not abruptly or impatiently, just very somehow calmly and naturally. Because we're relaxed and still, and because there is no agenda or plan, it's not a competition with ourselves or with others, then we can feel deeply somehow relaxed and at home. There's a basic sense of warmth, kindness towards oneself. Really letting go, just relaxing, opening with the out breath. And then, as part of the motivation, or you could say a reminder, which helps us to perhaps understand deeper the significance of what we call the dharma, the teachings, which has the sense of that which holds us back from suffering, holds us back from pain and the suffering brought on by ignorance and the unwholesome emotions, destructive emotions. And excuse me. Those reminders, there are 4 reminders. We're not going to go through them extensively, it just takes too long. But it's a reminder. We remember and feel gratitude for this precious human opportunity we have as a human being. So easy to forget with our problems and our worries and our very often kind of neurotic thought and patterns of action and relating with others. We forget the incredible opportunity we have as human beings, the opportunity to investigate, the opportunity to create causes of happiness. And understand the causes of suffering with a view to letting them go. So we have this human body and mind. We have an extraordinary opportunity to investigate. We have the leisure for that. But we also know in the second contemplation, which is so important in Buddhist practice, is the contemplation of impermanence. Impermanence and mortality, impermanence and death. The fact that everything is changing moment by moment. Nothing is actually staying totally still. We are all changing, we're all aging. There's nothing we can hold on to with a view to it not changing. We can't force things to be the way we want. They will change. And we will one day die, and we don't know when. Death is definite, the time is indefinite. And we will all be separated from not only our own bodies, but from the people we know and love, and also the people we don't like. We'll be separated from everything. This is not something we can avoid. So with this, with the first contemplation of this precious human life, we develop gratitude and a wish to, not waste this life. We see how precious it is. And with the second reflection on impermanence and death, there can come a wish to really understand the whole process and to practice some kind of meaningful path, if you like, or meaningful inner process, which will help us navigate life and death. From the Buddhist perspective, of course, this is just one life amongst countless beginningless lives. Consciousness has no ending. So we need to create causes for present and future happiness, wholesomeness, and so forth. And for that, we consider the Buddha's teachings a most excellent way to work with our challenging situation. And the third contemplation is that actions have consequences. So whatever we do and say and think doesn't just occur and then leave no trace. They all leave a trace. And if they're sufficiently powerful, they can lead to extremely powerful positive or negative results, depending on the nature and the intention behind our actions. Our actions of body, speech, and mind. So in that sense, we are responsible for our experience. We create the causes to experience life in a certain way. So that's the third contemplation. And the fourth one, and we're going through these very, very fast, obviously, each topic merits, whole chapters and books and so forth. But the fourth contemplation, a very important one, especially in the context of Mahayana Buddhism, which emphasizes so much compassion. So then the fourth contemplation is contemplation on suffering, the sufferings of beings in this world, in this universe, the unsatisfactoriness of our experience, how our whole being somehow right now is operating in such a way that we attract unwholesomeness. We attract unsatisfactory experience all the time. Our body is designed to give not only happiness and bliss, but also it very easily suffers, very easily has pain, disease, and so forth. And at a deeper level, we can say that because our lives, according to Lord Buddha, are motivated by delusions, by ignorance, anger, attachment, and other unwholesome states of mind, because that is so powerful in us, it forces us, if you like, to create unwholesome actions, unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome speech, which bring in their wake suffering, unpleasant experience. So in the context of what we're looking at these days, what we call the four immeasurable thoughts, the four immeasurables, one of which we're looking at now is immeasurable loving kindness. So if we're starting with ourselves, spending a long time working on what it means to have a genuine friendship with oneself and develop warmth and kindness towards oneself. So in that context, the Buddhist approach would be, we cannot be kind to ourselves. We cannot create the causes of happiness for ourselves if we neglect the basic reality, the basic situation, which right now is impermanence, suffering, and so forth. The action of cause and effect, dependent arising. We can't ignore that and just pretend to be kind to ourselves by indulging, what we want for short-term gain, short-term pleasant experience. So these four contemplations are an act of kindness, actually. They're very necessary to create a genuine friendship with ourselves and with the world. Because they're based on reality, the way things are. So we have this precious opportunity. It is easily lost through impermanence and death. There is the working of causation, you could say moral causation in the world. We can't get away with just behaving the way we want and think that there won't be any repercussion. And we recognize the underlying unsatisfactoriness of ordinary living, ordinary life. The unenlightened life is just full of sorrow, full of agitation, you could say, lack of peace in the mind. When in the teachings, when we speak about the disturbing states of mind, the destructive emotions, anger, attachment, ignorance, pride, deluded doubt, and so forth, their basic quality is to disturb the peace of the mind. That's what they do. They make the mind rough. So if we mindlessly act in the same way all the time, then we're just being very unkind, you see, to ourselves and of course to others as well. So in the immeasurable kindness prayer, when we say how wonderful it would be if all beings had happiness and the causes of happiness, then we have to understand the genuine causes for happiness, not superficial ones like just indulging our senses or, eating or doing what we want all the time. That's not the cause of genuine happiness. Okay. So our argument up to now, our thesis, if you like, has been that if we are to generate genuine kindness and warmth and love, affection, genuine wish for others to be happy, and really understand what we are saying, what we are meaning, then we have to start with ourselves. We have to, if you like, charity begins at home. We experiment on ourselves. We make sure that we know how to be a good friend to ourselves. Because after all, other people come and go in life. Experiences come and go. Outer objects, places, jobs, people, everything come and go. Vehicles and clothes and everything, our favorite shoes, even they can come and go, But our mind, we can never be free of our mind. Our constant companion is this body and mind right now. And the body will fall away at some point, but consciousness will not. So we need to understand, make friends with this consciousness, this mind. And we need to do that skillfully, thoroughly. So hence the basic act of sitting down, being still, slowing down, paying attention. That's the only way to begin to make friends. If you want to make friends with a person, with a child, with an adult, with an animal, anything, one has to slow down, right? And actually pay attention to that being to cultivate a proper relationship with that being, right? We can't do it if we're on speed, if we're speeding through life, always in a hurry, always aiming at the next, the next whatever, the next thing we want to do, the next appointment. Okay, so this slowing down and paying attention, very simple phrase, but I think it's incredibly meaningful and extremely difficult to put into practice for people like me who can be very distracted, very busy, hopping from one thing to another. So basically that's very exhausting, and then one never really comes to appreciate this deeper, what shall we say, deeper calm and clarity that we're capable of, which is very restful, relaxing, and important. Yeah. So maybe today I won't say anything else right now. I think we could have some meaningful discussion or maybe some feedback from people. And then, of course, I have other material to share. that can, of course, that will happen. But is there anybody who would like something, is there anything unclear or something anyone would like to say? Feel free. Because I made several statements such as, this, that the five senses are drawing us outwards all the time. And I think, said that that was kind of a superficial level of awareness of the mind, and that there's a deeper quality that we can access, which could be very helpful and nourishing for us. I wonder whether that resonates with people. And this whole idea of making friends with ourselves, understanding ourselves well, as a prelude to, as a foundation for being able to relate properly with other people, with other beings, any kind of other being, humans, animals, anybody. No? Okay. Maybe after a while there'll be some feedback. For now, yes, there's probably that sense that people come to the session after a long day and a busy day, and you don't necessarily want to be talking too much initially. Okay, so yeah. So perhaps one of the reasons we cannot properly generate the causes of happiness is we don't trust ourselves and we don't trust our own experience. We're confused about things. We are tossed here and there by life very often. We have experiences which make us feel that we cannot cope, or we might be in due to whatever reason. We may think that we cannot navigate the challenges of life on one's own, or we cannot trust ourselves. There's something missing within ourselves. And so we need constant validation and support from other people and from all kinds of substances and so forth, just to feel okay. So please listen to this passage, and then we can reflect on it for a little while, quietly. The author says, in my office, there's a scroll with Japanese calligraphy and a painting of a famous Zen master, Bodhidharma. Bodhidharma, he was very famous Buddhist master with very staring eyes and very pronounced eyebrows. And it said that he helped to transport or to spread Buddhism, take Buddhism from India to China and even Japan. So he's depicted, the Bodhidharma, he's depicted as a very fat, grumpy looking person with bushy eyebrows, and he looks as if he has indigestion. And the calligraphy on this Japanese scroll reads, pointing directly at your own heart, you find Buddha. Yeah? Pointing directly at your own heart, you find Buddha. So listening to these kind of talks, what's happening now, the teachings of the Buddha, practicing meditation is nothing other than studying ourselves, investigating ourselves. Whether we're eating, or working, or meditating, or listening, or talking, the reason that we're here in this world, you could say, is to study ourselves. In fact, it's been said that studying ourselves provides all the books we need. And of course, there are stories of great masters who never read a book. I mean, who could not read, Nowhere does it say you have to be literate, you have to be able to read to attain enlightenment, to attain awakening, to create causes of happiness. In fact, some of the most unhappy people of the world may be people who read a lot, who are very intellectual. So anyway, that's another thing. So studying ourselves provides all the books we need. Maybe the reason that there are Dharma talks, these kind of talks and books, is in fact just to encourage us to understand this simple teaching. What's that teaching? That all the wisdom about how we cause ourselves to suffer, and all the wisdom about how joyful and vast and uncomplicated our minds are, or can be, these two things, the understanding of what we might call neurosis and the wisdom of unconditioned, unbiased truth, all of it can only be found in our own experience. So this Bodhidharma is supposed to be a very fierce and uncompromising person. And there's a story about how he kept nodding off during meditation, a very common occurrence. So then he cut off his eyelids. He cut off his own eyelids. He threw them on the ground. And they turned into a tea plant, it is said. And then he realized he would simply drink the tea to stay awake. Anyway, whether or not that could be a story symbolic of something, metaphor. But his big discovery was that by looking directly at ourselves, into our own hearts, we can find the awakened Buddha right there within ourselves. The completely unclouded experience of how things are, how things really are, not what we think they are, or just how they appear to us right now. So, yeah. So there's a sense that we sit down and we are willing to observe clearly what is happening within ourselves without bias. Being prepared to look directly. to pay enough attention to be able to look directly into ourselves, which is not easy, of course, because nature of our being is to be very distracted and restless a lot of the time. And together with this intensity of attention, if you like, paying attention, there's also kindness. There's also a sense of kindness in that, gentleness. So this author says that without clarity and honesty in our practice, we don't progress. We stay stuck in the same vicious cycle of, wanting or not wanting, getting sucked into and believing in, all of the nonsense that can go on in the mind, getting caught up in unwholesomeness, in disturbing emotions of all kinds. So it's good to be clear and honest and to see this process, but it's not enough without kindness. So kindness, honesty or clarity without kindness, she says, makes us feel very grim, very mean. And we can become so caught up, she says, in introspection and looking inside that we lose any contentment or gratitude that we may have initially had. We become irritated by ourselves and our lives, that's possible. Other people's quirks, idiosyncrasies become very irritating, even overwhelming. And that's why there's so much emphasis on kindness. It's called gentleness. Sometimes it's called unlimited friendliness, like this, immeasurable loving kindness. But basically, kindness is a down-to-earth, everyday way to describe the important ingredient that balances everything, balances the whole picture, helps us connect with something within us, which here the teacher calls unconditional joy. There's that sense that we do have that within, if we were to be skillful enough to slow down and provide the right environment for it. So the challenge is to develop this kindness, this compassion, along with the clarity, seeing things clearly, but not seeing them clearly in order to criticize and cut ourselves and other people down, but to generate more and more warmth and appreciation of what we are going through, what others are going through. So honesty without kindness, humor, good-heartedness can just be quite mean. Because, and there's another reason to be kind, is because when we're investigating ourselves, actually, we're not just investigating ourselves. We are understanding something that is universal, because everybody, to some extent or another, in one way or another, is going through as the same kind of mind with the same kind of factors and goes through a similar experience of wanting, not wanting, wanting happiness, not wanting suffering, and so on and so forth. So much. So if we're understanding ourselves very well, the argument goes, we're understanding something very universal. So if we only apply honesty and clarity and so forth, it could degenerate into being very critical, very, like a very harsh sort of schoolmasterly approach, which is not kind at all. Just makes us feel more upset at our own deficiencies. So the kindness is very important. So when the prayer says, may all sentient beings, how wonderful it would be if all beings had happiness and the causes of happiness. Well, those beings, all beings includes oneself. It's not referring to everybody other than oneself. You know, everybody but not me. No, everybody, including oneself, has to start with oneself. So maybe we can just take a little time to reflect. Let's engage in a little exercise. Take the last, excuse me, take the last day or two, the last, excuse me, the last 48 hours or so, and bring to mind instances where you feel you were kind to yourself, and instances when you weren't so kind. Of course, we don't look at life maybe in this way as to whether we're being kind or unkind to ourselves. But in retrospect, if you look at certain experiences you may have had in the last 48 hours, or, you know, obviously we're not talking of any huge, big experience, but anything in terms of how you thought, what you said, what you felt, what you thought about yourself, or how you behave, which out of them, are there any that reflect a genuine kind of, a genuine kindness and warmth towards oneself? And are there some which are more harsh or mean or critical and sort of almost unforgiving towards oneself? What would you say? Just spend 5 minutes reflecting on that. I'm going to be, sorry, you'll have to excuse me, I have to be kind to myself and go and get some hot water and a blanket because I'm feeling cold. So you reflect, and I will also reflect and be kind. Okay. So I wonder if there's any feedback after that little reflection on whether we're kind, or examples of kindness and unkindness that we have discovered in the last few days. Let me. Anybody want to share anything? Yes, Neil. Please go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if I were a yogi, what are the steps I need to take in order to grow and become more humane and in a Buddhist perspective?
So this is your example of being kind to yourself, is it, in the last few days? Having that thought, having that aspiration. Is that what you are?
Yeah, something like that, yes.
Good, okay. Were you anything that you feel was unkind? Any kind of unkindness towards yourself?
Yeah, that's always at the surface level. It's in depth. Yes, it's in depth. At the surface level, it seems like I'm okay with being mean to myself and to others at the same time, expressing myself that way, being honest to others, and following the way of being just cut offish. You cut off somebody sometimes, and so I cut off myself as well while doing that. I've just become aware of that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Vikram?
Well, Kabir, I thought that I ought to be a little tougher on myself. I mean, for instance, not exercising every day, which is something I should do. So I thought, this being really, unkind to yourself when you don't, exercise. So that's what occurred to me.
So you're saying that you're unkind to yourself through not taking exercise.
That's right.
And then also by feeling upset about it as well. Or
probably, yes. Or just kind of I think it's a form of laziness, actually, but
Yeah, okay. Any act of kindness towards yourself? What can be viewed as kindness? Not that you deliberately thought, now I'm going to be kind to myself. And then, but anything looking back that was conducive to your happiness?
No, not much. It was a routine set of days.
Routine set of days. I see. That sounds pretty awful. Is that good?
No, it was fine. It was fine. No problem. Yep, absolutely fine.
Okay. You have a daughter, right?
I have a son.
Son, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I have a son. I have a wife. I have a family. Yes, all good there. So.
Okay. And you are kind to them or unkind to them without getting.
I think we treat each other kindly, all of us.
Very good. Very good. Right. Anyone else? Avashir, Nilashi, Sagar, Ashwin. Oh, Ashwin, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so I was actually making a list of the kind things I did for myself.
Uh-huh.
And then I realized, funnily, like the last item on my list was smiling at others. Was a
Was
kind
what?
thing smiling at others was a kind thing
okay.
I did for myself.
Oh, very good. Do you smile at yourself in the mirror? That can be interesting. Grimacing at oneself in the mirror. And anything you can construe as unkindness towards yourself?
Maybe drinking too much coffee.
Yes. Okay. Realizing, yeah, that it's not totally good for you. Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at, I'm going through a lot of my books these days since house is being redecorated and things have to be moved from one place to another. And there's this book a friend sent me from Goa, written by someone called Daryl D'Souza, about all the ways in which we, basically what it comes out of reading this book is all the ways in which we are abusing our bodies in the wrong way of living, wrong way of eating and everything. So it's like, yeah, you mentioned coffee, for me it's tea, because everything he says in that book, a lot of it seems to make so much sense. It really makes a lot of sense. And then one is still going on in the old patterns of taking the one's drugs of choice, tea, yeah, biscuit, yeah, hot water here. So yeah, it seems that discipline is needed to be kind to oneself. And as Krishnamurti once said, discipline, to be disciplined is to learn to be a good disciple. It's the same root, discipline, disciple. So to be a good disciple of, the truth of
Oh, thanks, Mohit.
of right action. And not just to give in to one's whims and fancies all the time, just because it's nice, pleasant. But if someone told me, and people have, it's kinder to your body to drink something like turmeric, haldi, mixed with black pepper, and warm water in the hot water in the morning. That is really very, very good for you, rather than milk tea. Then an instant struggle sets up in my mind because I've tried, turmeric with black pepper, and black pepper I like in tea, actually, ground up in tea, but milk tea. But with turmeric, somehow the taste is, I guess, something some people might get used to, but it's hard. And part of me realizes very well that what I drink every morning is not so good for my health. And this other thing would be amazing. But yeah, one continues to be unkind, I think, knowing full well that the other way would be better for health. But then you say, well, I want to be happy in the morning, so I want something that tastes good, I don't want to have some taste in my mouth that is not nice, even if it's good for me. So it's a challenge, isn't it? But some people are much more disciplined. They can.
Kabirji,
Yes.
what you were saying about tea, I can extrapolate it to certain habits and even certain food items, even there. I I always keep wondering, why are all the unhealthy patterns and habits making one feel so nice, or why does it bring some kind of happiness, like eating chocolate, staying up late night, or overindulging in books or reading? So how come these unhealthy habits are always bringing some kind of happiness, while all the unhealthy things, even with food, discipline, and habits and patterns, they are extremely difficult to imbibe, and one has to keep paying attention to it. But for those kind of things like eating a chocolate or just sleeping in an hour more, doesn't really require so much awareness. You can just do it so easily. And sometimes even in the name of being kind to myself.
Yes. Yeah. Anybody want to have a go at that? Good question. Very good question. All the things that are good for us painful initially, difficult, like bitter medicine. And are all the things, why is it that so many of the things we enjoy are not good for us, or supposed not to be good for us? Who knows? A little of what you like does you good, say the British, but of course, how do we interpret a little? Half a bar of chocolate, one piece of chocolate. If we were to have a certain kind of mind, would it not matter so much? If we had an open, clear, spacious, happy sort of mind. Anyone want to respond to what Nilashi said? I presume it's Nilashi and not a.
Yes. Yeah.
She's not showing her face, so we don't know if she's human or not. It sounds human. Sounds human. Yeah. Vikram, you think
I was also telling a friend about certain aspect of emptiness, and then the friend cracked a very hideous sort of a joke saying that, oh, you are just think of the chocolate as being an empty thing and you're attaching too much unhealthy value to it, to its nature. Just eat it. It's empty. The very value of the dark chocolate.
Well, you could say everything lacks inherent existence, even poison, even cyanide. So, but one wouldn't want to take it just on those premises. Yeah, one has to be skillful, isn't it? Anyway, I think one answer to your question, since no one else is venturing, is that it's a question of our habitual patterns, what we've gotten used to. What we've gotten used to. If you live in a village, until recently, if you lived in a village, and still in many Indian cities, you can't just go into a kitchen, put on the gas, and quickly make yourself your favorite drink. You have to collect firewood, you have to build a fire, you have to, everything takes much more effort. So a lot of lives, simple, village lives are much more simple, much less, you can't just, flick a switch and have your favorite drink or, whatever. Or you don't have shops nearby which sell a lot of unnecessary, unhealthy, but sweet sort of food. It's just not there. So we are also the products of our civilization, right? And of our economies. So we have been spoiled, actually, by that. We've been spoiled by electricity so that we can stay up late. you know, if we'd had to light oil lamps and so forth, then our lives would be very different, wouldn't they? Imagine a life without electricity. Can we imagine it even now, you know? Of course, I'm not suggesting we do that, go back to that, although we may have to one day, who knows? But yeah, our lives have become very complicated and very desire-oriented. And we're already in the desire realm. So we're motivated by wanting something, right? So all the time. Oh yeah. But I'm trying to think of something that I didn't like the taste of, and you know what I got used to. Think of anything offhand. Maybe things like bitter gourd, karela, and one can get used to things, and they're no longer something that one you know, wants to reject or spit out. They may still not be as delicious as one's favorite sinful food, but still one can get used to it. It depends, doesn't it, on so many factors, on what our mum or dad tried to force us to eat when we were young and we didn't like it, and you know, whatever, all sorts of things like that can color, can create biases in our mind, so that to this day we don't like certain things for, you know, childhood reasons. And who knows what other factors there are. But the point we're getting at is that our whole lifestyle, I think, is based on a kind of ignorance of what is happiness. And so in that sense, being profoundly unkind to ourselves. Machinery-driven civilization, some would argue, is profoundly unkind to us, as early workers found out, you know, when they had to live in dreadful accommodation, close, you know, next to railway lines and close to factories, with, you know, appalling conditions. And that's still the case probably in quite a few parts of the world. The whole economic structure and everything else is based on driving a human being, you know, just making a human being a cog in a vast economic machine. So in that sense, with whatever good intentions the Industrial Revolution may have started, I don't know if it was good intentions or just inventiveness and human cleverness, it certainly led to us being cut off from, yeah, sort of basic nature, basic simplicity. Next time I try and remember to bring something, a book by Sita Rinpoche, where he describes that very well. The basic integrity and sanity of traditional society, Tibetan society, compared to, you know, modern society, where we make, he said, everything a problem. Everything becomes a problem in modern society. So, yeah, we could say that right now we are living at a time when we are being hooked to think that we need all these outward things to be happy, and they're not what's going to make us happy. I'm going to read something. Luckily, it's not a spy story, so it's not like there's the, you know, it's not a spoiler when I'm reading, but it's really, you should, not should, it might be very worthwhile for some of you to read Mingyur Rinpoche's book, In Love with the World, if you haven't already. Have any of you read that book, In Love with the World? It's an extraordinary book on this monk, you know, kind of important monk, Rinpoche, spiritual leader, you could say, who leaves his, who just runs away from his monastery and leads a life of kind of a beggar, incognito for 2 years. And in the old tradition of just leaving home and practicing in a very simple way. So anyway, at the end of this book, which gives some of his extraordinary experiences as he was just on the road or traveling and living in places very simply, eating discarded food and so forth, almost dying as a result of that. But the end of this book, he says this. Seems to me to be profound, most profound way to be kind to oneself. He says, you may have heard me say this before, but it's the key point of the entire path, so it bears repeating. All that we are looking for in life, all the happiness, contentment, and peace of mind is right here in the present moment. Our very own awareness is itself fundamentally pure and good. The only problem is that we get so caught up in the ups and downs of life that we don't take the time to pause and notice what we already have. So don't forget to make space in your life to recognize the richness of your basic nature, to see the purity of your being, and to let its innate qualities of love, compassion, and wisdom naturally emerge. So keep this teaching at the heart of your practice, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Pause from time to time and relax your mind. You don't have to change anything about your experience. You can let thoughts and feelings come and go freely and leave your senses wide open. Make friends with your experience. And see if you can notice the spacious awareness that is with you all the time. Everything you ever wanted is right here in this present moment of awareness. That's quite a statement. Everything you ever wanted is right here in this present moment of awareness. That's not what the advertising jingles are telling us. Everything is out there. Everything is out there waiting to be bought. Then we'll be happy. Then we'll be satisfied. Yeah, extraordinary book, this one, In Love with the World. Yeah, by Mingyur Rinpoche. Yeah. He had someone help him write it, so that it's very, very excellent English, because he's a Tibetan monk and English wouldn't be that good. So yes, this came out in 2019. Yeah, he just left his monastery, where he was very important. He was the head of the monastery and well looked after, respected. He just left with a little money in his pocket, not much. So yeah, but he's someone who had practiced enough to find contentment in the present moment of experience. This is something intriguing, isn't it?
Kabir, not to play spoiler here, my concern is actually for the ordinary person who, faces a grind. I mean, you say migrant labor, you know the critique. And obviously the question is, how much time do people who can barely put a food on the table have to actually meditate and get to know their inner selves and, delight in the present. And then this thing, the point you made about traditional society, I mean, oppressive class structures, social structures, life expectancy rates that were really horrible. 30 years old, life expectancy in 1947 in this country. And then, China, it was also pretty bad. So, I'm not so sure we should idealize traditional society. I think here you're playing to the tendency of moderns to sort of engage in a lot of angst. And this provides a nice salve to that. But I'm not sure really, I mean, would this kind of sophisticated approach to religion play with ordinary, lesser mortals, shall we say, not condescendingly, but lesser in terms of economic strength or in relationship to society. So, I don't know, I'm a bit worried about some of the things you say, but of course I understand the spirit and I would concur with the spirit.
So you're in the category of lesser mortal, are you?
I'm a lesser mortal, 100%. But I'm just thinking. I mean, when you really are materially in such bad shape, are you going to be able to do the kinds of things that Buddhism calls you to do? I mean, has Buddhism actually reached out to the destitute, or in a spiritual way, not necessarily in just providing material succor to them? So these are questions, very high standard that you're setting.
You should read the book first.
No, I will. I'll read it. Yeah.
You should realize that Buddhism has been practiced by lay people from all walks of life for 2,500 years. So it's not just something for the elite or for some kind of higher mortal or supermen and superwomen. It's not like that. When he speaks about the spacious awareness that can be generated and can be found in the present moment, he's not saying you have to be, a 19th century peasant who doesn't have electricity. He's saying that that is available to all of us right now. If we were to only slow down briefly, if a person says, I can't slow down and pay attention for 15 minutes or half an hour a day, then I agree. That person cannot be helped by Buddhism or by any authentic spiritual path, probably very much, because that person is too driven, is pretty much insane, so cannot be helped much, like many of our corporate slaves or whoever, whatever you want to call them. But I think most of us have the duty to ourselves to occasionally take a few deep breaths and stop and pay attention, to the inside or to some, beauty or situation that brings out spaciousness and gentleness. That is something we all need. It's like someone in the desert coming to an oasis. You can't say, oh, I'm too busy walking around in circles in the desert. I don't have time or inclination to stop at the oasis. We all need to stop at the oasis and drink of that water. So I would argue, and of course, yes, I agree. We can idealize a former way of life, which of course was very, very tough. But this Lama was talking about early 20th century and 19th century Tibet. And if you read someone whose name I can't remember right now, but the Western woman who wrote about Ladakh, Ancient Futures, was it called? A wonderful book, Herbert Nodge or something. She wrote about traditional Ladakhi society and how it changed a lot in 40, 50 years she's been observing it. And then you get a sense that those people had a much wiser approach to living, which endowed them with a lot more contentment and peace. Yeah,
Hmm.
better to live a peaceful, happy 30 or 40-year life than an 80-year life full of tension and anxiety and ill health and all the rest of it,
One could go back and forth on this, but I see your point, and I think it's a very valid point.
Yeah. Anyway, you might enjoy this book, actually. It's like a spiritual adventure story. In love with the world. Yeah. Very good book.
I wonder, Kabirji, if you would, comment taking this forward, Vikram's, I think it's Vikram's comment and where he comes from, and relate it perhaps to the conduct, first of all, which is part of the path, as well as the activity, the enlightened activity, which is a direct result of practice, and about meeting the dharma, first of all, to have the fortune of having that, whatever that dharma may be, not necessarily Buddha dharma, but of course Buddha dharma as well. And also there was one thing that I remembered that the Dalai Lama said was, His Holiness said that, you practice for the sake of just being able to be a better person and continue doing what you do, and not to be a Buddhist.
Yeah.
This was something that he had said, and I suppose that is. I just wanted to make those remarks.
Good. Yeah. He says, I'm a human being first, then a Buddhist, then a monk, or then a monk and then a Buddhist. Anyway, probably human being first, then a Buddhist, and then a monk. I think that's important. We get a bit sectarian, carried away by how noble we are to be Buddhists and all that. And the first part of your question was, what was it? What was the first thing you said?
About conduct on the path, and also the Eightfold Path, that is, as well as the enlightened activity.
It seems all of that is designed so that lesser mortals like Vikram and myself can actually taste some, something very, very powerful and special, and bring some, what shall we say, some balance and contentment, real contentment into life, in life. Yeah. And then I guess the more that we feel that's important and have some taste of it, then we do give ourselves the opportunity to spend a bit of time, and even to take time off. There's plenty of working people who take time off to do retreats. So, hippies or people, from rich families who can just spend their money, investigating religion, spirituality. There's many working people with children, and then they take turns when necessary to do retreats, 2 days, 3 days, 10 days. So lay people were perfectly capable of engaging in this, if we feel it's important enough, right? Because we can be so driven sometimes, isn't it, by our work, and thinking we need to earn a lot of money to save up for our retirement and so forth, that we can miss out on a lot and just exhaust ourselves. And then some people, like a good friend of mine, who shall be nameless, they just went so far that their pursuit of success and money just led them to perdition, led them to jail, actually. So I think we have to know when enough is enough, and when we need to slow down and pay attention, and nurture another side of ourselves, and not just the success-oriented, worldly, practical side, which is, of course, encouraged all the time by the political correctness and so forth. Yeah. But yeah, Buddha did say, if we're seriously investigating the path, then we're going against the current. We're going against the flow of ordinary life, and also, of course, against the flow of our habitual patterns, the flow of our ego, which screams out to, just want to do what it wants to do and engage in the habitual patterns forever, So, of course, we are going against the stream. And teachers like Dzogchen Rinpoche go as far as to say that, don't expect Buddhism, authentic Buddhism, to be something very comforting initially anyway. It's designed to torpedo our complacency. It's designed to turn our lives upside down. So, because, the lives we're leading are so insane from a Buddhist perspective, so out of balance, that we need to, we need to have that life turned upside down. That would be the Dharma logic. If someone is insane, it's going to take quite some, sanity is going to look very threatening, and will be asking them to, turn their life upside down. So, yeah.
I just wanted to add that I suppose the reason a lot of people, me personally, I'll just speak about myself, turn towards seeking meaning was because of arriving at a state of crisis within myself, and also not understanding why things are the way they are, and what investigating these traditions allowed me to understand how to navigate these feelings, and how to understand why things are the way they are, and in a very self-validating kind of manner process, which not just auto-suggested sort of, but really investigative processes, which ultimately made me understand and experience what true equanimity is, and in order to and to be able to be kind, because it is a direct projection. If I'm unkind, I'm being unkind to myself, as somebody said. It is because everything that I see and experience is basically a projection of myself, and which. And this also allows a spaciousness and a more altruistic attitude, experience, which results in having the energy to serve or to be of help to others, which is what the Mahayana is based on. But it is inevitable. The practice of the teachings and meditation, it inevitably leads you to have this experience of altruism, of compassion for the other. There's no other way. That's just is what it is. And and that's where one can, that's what I understand to be enlightened activity, when you can actually act from that spontaneous place of just immeasurable compassion and play a part in whatever your world is, whatever you define your world to be, whether it's the migrant labor or the lady who comes and works. I don't know. It's there's somebody, for example, there's a friend of mine who works with and fosters dogs, and she spent all this time and energy and this one dog who was going to be put to death and had 2 legs and had lost the function of the backside of his body. But she stayed, she didn't want to put it to sleep, but she was so committed to this animal, and she would, actually make it relieve itself and physically and things like that. And then she raised funds and she sent this animal to Canada, to a home. And all of this happened in the same home, and they're a simple family. And the same home, there is a maid who comes and cleans and cooks and things like that. And of course, they have but she was like, I wish I was that dog, because, I could do with that money. And, it's really what is it that you need to do, I think, and which is so particular or subjective to you, is perhaps what defines where dharma can serve you and the other. That's just some ramblings. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, it's a good quality sound. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but interesting. Were you implying that you've already developed immeasurable equanimity and compassion? Did I hear that, or you were?
Well,
you misunderstood.
Glimpses, and
okay,
it's just glimpses, and those are the practice is kindness to myself. Those are ways I can be kind to myself. But no.
I was suddenly feeling like a very lesser mortal hearing that. I'm sure Vikram was thriving in there's all these,
Well, only because I come from such a, cringing, afflicted self, that when I experience some relief and some sort of gap, that I see that there is there is some truth in it. That's what I mean. I'm a very ordinary, afflicted being.
Satori experience, that's nice. A little glimpse of one's awakened nature, whatever. Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, it's 8:20. We have to stop soon, but we could have a little more. Thank you, those who are showing their faces. Nilashi and Sagar should be ashamed of yourselves as all students. Not showing your faces. It's so vibe. Okay, good. Nilashi, are you there? Are you okay? Good. Yeah, quite decent. That's good. Yeah. Take care. So anything else? Anybody? I've exhausted my reserves of wisdom for the day, but not compassion. I will sit with my aunt and watch the last episode of Treason, which promises to be, it's a short series. You can't really binge on it very well because it's only five episodes, right? Yeah. So I shall be eating dinner with Auntie and keeping her company and watching Treason, but I don't recommend it highly to anybody. Is British, but I wouldn't recommend it. Much better to read Alan Wallace or Buddhist Sutras, or a book that somebody gave me today, very kind. A friend gave me this wonderful book. Look at this series, Great Disciples of the Buddha. Great Disciples of the Buddha, put together by Nyanaponika Thera, he was one of the authors who people read in the 70s, early 70s. His book, The Heart of Buddhist Meditation, was a very important book for many people in the early days when there weren't many Dharma books in English. So him and another, looks like German, because he was German, another German person have put together Great Disciples of the Buddha, their lives, their works, their legacy. So I'm looking forward to looking at that, because I've never read anything in depth on Shariputra, on Moggallana, Mahakashyap, Anand, Anuruddha, Mahakachana, and then great women disciples of the Buddha. There's a chapter on that, about 10, 12 names there. Then Angulimal, A Murderer's Road to Sainthood, and the great sponsor, Anatta Pindika. So it promises to be interesting reading. Yeah, sometimes I wish there was no internet, really. It is so distracting. I just sit in my library with books and meditate. But then we cannot blame the internet for our distractedness. Yeah. Anything else, folks, before we part? So today's Thursday. Next session Sunday morning. I can't remember. There's something else happening, not from us, but anyway, keep your ears and eyes peeled. There's some. If I remember, I'll let people know. But there's some very good programs and teaching sometimes online. Yeah. Otherwise, just enjoy spaciousness. This spacious awareness, this is something we really need to investigate, isn't it? Because if what he's saying is true, it's amazing. He's saying, don't forget to create space to recognize the richness of your basic nature. Let its innate qualities of love, compassion, and wisdom emerge. See if you can notice the spacious awareness that is with you all the time, Vikramji. Even us lesser mortals, we're supposed to have spacious awareness all the time. Is there if we notice it. But we're too caught up, I guess, with other level of chatter in mind and all the visual stuff and all the rest, which take up so much energy. But we don't hear that little, I don't know, silent inner voice. Anyway, now I'm beginning to yawn. So that's a very powerful sign to shut up and end the session. So let's dedicate for the happiness and welfare of beings who are caught up in the in a very tight prison, iron chains, Sankara put it, of our karma, delusion, our habitual patterns of thinking and acting and so forth. They keep us tightly bound. So we develop compassion for beings who are still bound up in that, and we should feel gratitude for having met the Dharma that gives us ways to totally emerge from the prison of cyclic existence, from the insanity of the neurotic tendencies within our own mind, and also enables us to be of incredible benefit to others. That's the amazing thing. We can actually be of benefit to others. May we never be separated from these teachings and from teachers. May all wonderful teachers, His Holiness Jabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and all the other great teachers have long and healthy lives. May all their wishes be fulfilled, their wishes for us and the Dharma. Okay, so everybody, thank you very, very much. Have a good evening. And be kind and try and get to sleep before 1 or 2 a.m. unless you really do have to produce something by morning. And may all of us, lesser or higher mortals, have good rest. And yeah, thank you all very much for participating. Good night. Good night. Thank you.